Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Welcome to a Friday edition of The Smoking Barrel. I'm Rustin Edwards, based in Switzerland in the Geneva Valley, with my illustrious flower shirt co-host, Mr. Matt Stanley, in Dubai. You look a little
Greetings.
sunburned. You look a little lobstered.
Yeah, well, I've been away because the family is still away owing to the current situation. And I landed about 5 hours ago or whatever it was. Excuse me. And then I'm heading. I came back, did a bit of washing, checked on the dogs. They're still all right. They're still all right. Um, and then I'm going to South Africa tomorrow morning for Arda Week, which will be good. But yeah, I usually enjoy travel, you know that, but I got to say I'm not enjoying it right now because it's because of the family and stuff. You know, they're fine. They're away. They're doing their schoolwork from home. My wife's working away, so it's just a very surreal situation because on on Tuesday, next Tuesday, it will be 5.5 weeks since they've been away. 5 weeks been away.
Wow.
So it goes to show you, and we're certainly not the only ones who are like that. You know, Thailand is full. Thailand and the beaches of Khao Lak are full of people who are in exactly the same position as us. But with ceasefire, there yesterday was the first day since the conflict began where there was zero interceptions overhead, where the UAE air defenses were not actively engaged. We haven't had an alert since then. But selfishly, I'm looking at that from a UAE angle. Kuwait were attacked again. Lebanon's still going on. The Straits are still going on. So look, it's a ballsed up world we're living in. But I'm okay. The family are okay. The smoking barrel carries on, and the circus moves with it.
Well, if you want to talk circuses, let's talk where oil is today. We got 96.50 on the old front month Brent.
Yeah,
Uh, Ice gas oil is rolling off the board, I believe, today on the front
it
month.
is.
That's around 1,369. Will get you a ton of pristine Rotterdam barge gas oil.
Yeah, yeah. And May the next month is 12, 18, 25. So that's about $155 a barrel. I put on my commentary this morning that when was the last time we recorded? I think it was a couple of weeks ago.
That was last
Gas,
week.
was it last week?
Hmm.
But last Thursday, gas oil was trading at $214 a barrel for delivery into Europe. And
Yeah.
now it will be on Monday, it will be about 155. So it's or time of writing. But yeah, it's a $50 a barrel swings in a week is just insane.
Well, I mean, and it all boils down to the announcement of the quote unquote ceasefire with Iran, given
Yeah.
by President Trump the other day. And what we've seen here is a complete change in risk profile with the results of that headline. However, what we haven't seen is a change in the overall oil market supply chain.
No,
Um,
exactly.
all the chat around, oh, the straits are fully open and what have you. Yeah, I would not call the current situation a fully free and flowing Straits of Hormuz as it was on the days prior to the kinetic activity starting on the 28th of February.
No, and I want to show you what we've got as data. We've got a dashboard that we're putting out, which is exactly what we're talking about here. You can see that. So this is our Strait of Hormuz crossing. It's a dashboard that the guys set up. So here, let's just start where we were on the 28th of February. Now, we're getting data on what it looked like 2 months ago, but it was never a problem then, or seemingly it wasn't. On the 28th of February, when the conflict started, obviously at this date, a lot of people were doing U-turns because I think it was about 10 a.m. UAE time where US and Israel started attacking Iran, and then we saw some retaliatory strikes from Iran that afternoon. I remember I was in my house and I could see the explosions overhead or in the sky over the UAE. So there would have been naturally some vessels that would have done a U-turn or not entered or whatever it may be. But still, 79 vessels crossed the Strait of Hormuz. Of that, 57 exited and 22 came in. Since then, we've seen a dramatic drop off. At the lowest, we went down to one here on the 13th of March. Let me go down to see where that was. I bet you that was, sorry if I'm making anyone dizzy, but that was an Iranian boat. Let's have a look. Yes, that was the Aura, which is an Iranian flag boat. So that was the only one that came in the 13th of March. Whether you can call that the height of the conflict from a shipping point of view, it hasn't really changed since then. We saw the 28th of March, which was 2 weeks ago. 10 boats exited the Strait of Hormuz, and 6 entered. But ceasefire was announced on the 7th, right? 2 days ago? 3 days ago?
Yes.
And we've seen a total of, well, you can see it here, 13 plus 5, 22, 27 boats. So that's it, right? There are usually around, we reckon, for all boats, containers, dry bulk, tankers, LNG, LPG tankers, about 140 vessels a day. So we're still about, on average, 5% of traffic. But the market, if you look at where flat price is trading, the market is priced out not all of the risk, because we're still at $96 on Brent. We're still at $1,200 a ton on gas oil. But I think what's happened is, I think the worst case scenario has been priced out of markets, and I think that was a $10, $15 barrel risk premium.
Well, and what would you consider would be the worst case scenario? Because basis on everything that I've been seeing, I would say that we are still in a worst case scenario. You still don't have free flowing oil moving out of the straits. You still have attacks going on against Saudi Arabia and Kuwait,
Yeah.
hitting their oil infrastructure. The East-West pipeline was hit, reducing its capacity or its ability to output by 600,000 or 300,000 barrels a day, because they hit a pumping station apparently. The strikes on Kuwait last night, no information as to what was actually hit. But nevertheless, you don't have free-flowing traffic like you had before. You have the Iranians who have effectively have set up a toll booth. Iran has already said in one of their statements they will only allow 15 ships a day to transit through their control point,
Yeah.
which will keep oil markets strangled if that is
Absolutely.
allowed to actually manifest and continue. I mean, the market, I think, is fully mispricing this ceasefire because, yeah, it's only 48 hours old.
Yep.
But I don't think the risk is at all diminished. I think the risk is still there. And if
Absolutely.
anything, if you're looking at something to put some risk on, there's probably more of a buying opportunity based on the current information than a sell opportunity because I don't see this being resolved.
No, I agree. And, I'm just looking at our marine traffic map here, and, what people are talking, we'll talk about that in a minute because it is important. But on that note, our good mate Clyde Russell, who's really been writing some brilliant stuff recently, as a lot of people have. There's been a lot of shit written as well, but Clyde certainly hasn't been. He said, this is his column on Tuesday, it's time to end the world's delusions over the Iran energy crisis. And I completely agree. He said, the reality is that even with a ceasefire and the resumption of vessel flows, got it. The resumption of vessel flows through the Strait of Hormuz in the next few weeks, an energy crisis for the world economy is already locked in. And he's right. But he goes on to say, I think it was in this column, maybe he wrote another one. Hang on. Clyde, this is the best thing I've read. Listen to this. Where is it? I'll find it. Talk amongst yourselves. It was basically a column that Clyde wrote, talking about when Donald Trump was talking to the Easter Bunny. I can't find it now, but anyway, I'll put it up if I can. But it was brilliant. But look, I just want to talk about, because here's the thing, right? And I want to go back to what a lot of people. For God's sake, let me just log into marine traffic. When we spoke about what it all means for the Strait of Hormuz, the waterways, the traffic separation schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Let's just do the dark map. I mean, that's as empty as we've seen the Strait of Hormuz, right?
Yep.
I mean, I would argue that's less traffic than we've seen for a long time.
Well, I mean, that's the same picture that we've seen since the commencement of these operations.
Yes, and
There's been no change to that traffic flow.
Absolutely none. And His Excellency Sultan Al Jaber, who's a Minister for Industry and I think Advanced Technologies, and the CEO of ADNOC, he's right. The strait isn't open. I don't know why people think it is or got this delusion. News value quickly evaporates when people think there's a ceasefire. But look at it. It's not open. Right. Okay. But here's the thing. And we covered this. Let's just go back into the nautical chart. And anyone who wasn't able to join us when we were on that episode, just quickly brief us on what this is right now, right? Mudsandam, Larak Island, the closest route between the 2 points. What these arrows are here and what these arrows are here.
So what you're seeing there in this chart is the IMO US or the UN traffic separation scheme that for all vessels. It sits just outside of Omanian waters and outside of Iranian waters, and that is the UN regulated traffic separation scheme. The red barrels going into the straits, the red arrows going out. You have the Raycon to the south, which is the off the shoals there. So that is what the UN has designated as traffic separation schemes, and that is the official transit zone. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to switch over and share my screen 1 second.
Yeah. Just on, when you say the UN, the IMO is a UN organization.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So getting the IMO to move quickly with a situation like this is, frankly, a non-starter.
Well, the IMO has been trying to come up with a scheme in order to allow vessels to transit. Now, this is what the Iranians have published. Maybe you can see my screen or not.
I cannot yet. Yeah, now I can. It is coming. It is coming. There it is. Oh, yeah, I've seen this one. It looks like someone's built.
So this was published by the IRGC. And basically what the IRGC says, and I'm sorry if this is in Arabic, there's a better one out there that's been translated to English, but basically saying this square ABCD is unsafe for transit. And the only transit zones are these traffic lanes that have been devised by the IRGC, which basically pulls all traffic into Iranian waters. So if you're inbound, you must go through the toll booth that they've set up here at Larak Island, between Larak Island and Kisham Island. If you're outbound, you go south of Larak Island to check out, and you head south. Putting every vessel fully under the watchful eye and the control of the Iranian government, the Iranian military. So you're basically at risk of being shot at if you don't comply with anything that they say, or having your vessel seized if you don't comply with anything that they say. Now, the question here around this square, around the old traffic separation scheme, or the legal traffic separation scheme, is has Iran mined this area, or is this just they're just warning people, if you try to use this, we're going to shoot you? And
wow.
That's the question that people have, and this is part of the reason why shipping markets are kind of frozen at the moment. Because you have a couple of big issues. Your first issue is insurance. As of yet, I don't think any insurance company has granted insurance rights for transiting through the Straits of Hormuz. I think they're looking at it, but I don't think until there's a real stability around this whole arrangement, which we won't until after the weekend, you won't get coverage.
Yeah, I've got.
Now, the second issue is Iran says if you want to have your vessel transit, you have to pay a toll. Which in the current sanctions regime, how do you pay a toll to a country that is currently under financial sanctions? Because any methodology of transferring money from your bank account to an Iranian regime violates UN, US sanctions, especially because it's the IRGC, which is a designated terrorist organization under the United States. So you've got a couple of big issues that you have to deal with if you comply.
You can pay me in Bitcoin.
No, you cannot. Cryptocurrency is just as illegal as US dollars, as gold, as yuan, as any other type of financial transaction.
Yeah, exactly. So look, here we are. So when we're talking about, here's the thing, and thanks for that, because I've seen the charts. No one knows, right? There's no owner who's like CMA, CGM, the big container line, saying, well, you go first and we'll follow you. You do it and then we'll follow. So I think you will see some owners who will kind of run the gauntlet and say, well, we'll go. You know, if you're within that danger zone, the RGC have said, then yeah, you're incredibly brave. I mean, I'm just looking at a boat here. This one, don't even know what that is. Oh, that's a fishing boat, um, uh, a little wooden cargo boat. But I mean, there's nothing. There's a tug there. There's a Chinese boat that's going through. It's got dry cargo on. That's a Philip. That's what. Anyway, it's not open, right? It's just not open. And I think when talks start today, that needs to be the first fucking thing they talk about. It needs to be.
Well,
You said it'd be open. This is not opening it. You need to open because what then happened? I obviously I'm not a politician, so I'm not going to be anything like this kind of peace broker that Pakistan is seemingly doing. But that is surely number one when it comes to the
well,
talks.
that should be the first statement that comes with any meeting is why are you banning vessel traffic to the Straits of Hormuz? This is not agreed to. And if they say, well, this is how we're going to do it, then the U.S. either has to say, fine, these talks are done. Let's call the bombers. Let's go and continue. So either A or B, this is a complete capitulation by the U.S. government to say, oh, okay, all right, that's going to be allowed. You can collect your tolls. That's fine. Which is basically selling out the entire GCC um, to the IRGC because if you're going to start charging $2 million for a VLCC to come through the straits, which in a um, financial point of view is $1 a barrel of extra
Yeah,
freight costs to go
yeah,
through,
yeah, yeah.
um, and you pay it, okay, you accept that you're going to allow this to happen. Um, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a good point because we were talking about it internally. I said, look, if once it's absorbed into the cost, like there might be, like we said, there might be okay to get a barrel out of the Middle East. It's going to cost you like is it $2 million to go in and then $2 million to go out? So actually, it's $4 million, or is
Well,
it the total transit?
these are things that I have not seen any details from how this toll is being applied. So I'm assuming it's a one-way toll. That's why you check in, you go north of Lark Island to check into the Gulf, pay your fee, and then you check out, and okay, you're good to go. I mean, if they're going to try to nick ships on both sides of that coin, 2 million in, 2 million out, that changes economics even more. And if you're a Saudi Arabia, a UAE, a Bahrain, Kuwait, Iraq, except like okay, Iraq's made their government to government deal with Iran to allow their ships to transit.
Well, then they don't have a choice.
But it's a case of what ships does Iraq actually have versus ships that are on Iraq cargo. And if any of those ships have any connection to Israel or the United States, which a lot of ships do have connections to the US, maybe not Iran, Israel, but to the United States, a lot of ships have connections to the United States. Are they going to be like the Houthis saying, oh, you've got a bank financing arrangement with Citigroup for that ship, so that's a target? Or that ship has insurance with the American P&I Club. Oh, that's a target. I mean, so
Yeah, I mean, look,
this
here's
is where all the uncertainty sits around allowing the Iranian regime to have full control over the Straits of Hormuz.
yeah, look, this is the thing, isn't it? When you boil it all down, the semantics of a deal will be thrashed out, and I'm sure those talks are already going, and we just don't know it yet. That's fine, but well, it's not fine. It's shit, but it is what it is. But what I find incredible is how much control the Iranians have to pull that lever, to exercise that blockade for the amount of energy that flows through the Strait of Hormuz, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Well, no, people can do stuff about it. They're just not willing to do things about it. It's a case of, if you're going to take control of the Straits of Hormuz, it requires manpower. Because the problem with the Straits of Hormuz is that along that whole northern coastline, it's cliffs. And there's some flat areas as well. But, and it's basically those cliffs have been honeycombed by the Iranian government with missile installations and anti-ship uh, protection. So they've got a network of attacks that they can carry out on shipping if it comes through. So it's not so much drone boats, it's the fact that they've got missiles everywhere and they've got drones everywhere. And a slow-moving cargo ship is an easy target versus a Navy vessel. So in order to stop their control, you have to either take the straits, physically put troops in, which nobody has any wherewithal to do so because, oh my God, that could result in body bags being sent shipped home, and who wants that on their political conscience?
Yeah.
And so we end up in this case of, okay, we've had a 40-day war, a 43-day war, however long you want to talk about it. And it's been, what have we accomplished? We've basically conceded, Iran, you now have full control over the Straits of Hormuz. Enjoy. That's what's been accomplished.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, look, geez. Yeah, I know you're right. No, you're right. And this is the frightful truth. Okay, look, here's the thing markets, oil market, relatively benign today in the environment that we've been in. Only up 70 cents a barrel, less than 1%. Spreads still strong. Volumes are low. I know it's the end of Easter, so a lot of people are away, but I'm not sure anyone's not looking at their screen right now. But
Well,
the
again, I
big
don't,
thing,
I don't think this market. I mean, the sell-off on the ceasefire. Okay, that's always going to happen because that's a headline, and people are going to react and reduce risk, right?
yeah,
If they go long, they're going to pull it back. When you start looking at the brass reality of everything, however, $96 crude, I don't think justifies. We're in that price that makes any sense because you don't have the flow, as we've already seen. Don't have the crude flow, don't have the product flow. So the world's still short the same 15 million barrels of energy that we were short 2 weeks ago
yeah.
every day.
Yeah, I agree. And look, I agree. The market isn't pricing this in properly. But tell me, the big takeaways that people are going to be looking at, right? The biggest thing will be because JD Vance and I think who else has gone there? Steve Witkoff.
Witkoff and the dynamic trio, the three
Yeah,
amigos.
yeah. And is Hexith gone there as well?
No, not Hexeth. It's Witkoff, Kushner, and
Right.
Vance, which it's actually quite surprising that Vance is going. Because, again, he's the vice president. He had some fairly high level individual to travel to Pakistan for initial discussions. I would have thought that Rubio would have gone, but nevertheless, Vance has gone.
Yeah. And I saw this morning on the Gulf News that there was an announcement that because of the current issue, Pakistan will issue visas on arrival, which is, I was like, really? You're going to coast probably the world's biggest peace conference, and then you're going to suddenly say we've relaxed our visa scheme. It's fine. Anyway, it it's the big one is I don't know enough
Well,
about
I
Jake.
mean, I mean, to sit there to say a diplomatic envoy. Oh, wait, we have to give you a special tourist visa to.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't come back in 30 days. All right, JD? Yeah, he's fucking nuts for work. But, the big thing for me, at what point, the market's going to be waiting for, I need a tweet, right? Or a
Yeah,
truth post, or Donald to say something. If it's already drafted, what's your, I mean, this is a really difficult question. What's your opinion around what comes out at the start of the talks? Do you think it's positive or negative?
I think there's going to be a lot of noise, and I think when I say a lot of noise, you'll get the same rhetoric from the U.S. government that, oh, we have decimated them and they are begging for this and they want that, and we're going to work with to rebuild Iran, and kumbaya kumbaya, but we have destroyed Iran and they know it. I think
So
you'll hear.
a lot of patting ourselves on the back. Haven't we done well? Oh,
Oh
by the
yeah,
way,
yeah.
look at the stock
The high.
market.
I'm really concerned about a lot of people in the Oval Office who might have hurt their backs high fiving each other.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of hand moisturizer going on
yeah,
there. Yeah,
and the Iranians are going to say the same thing, that they have brought America to their knees and America will, bow down. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to what are the actual actions that come out of these talks,
right.
not the crap that comes out of the talks. And
Yeah,
the actions to me are going to be if Iran continues to force vessels through their traffic separation scheme and continues to control the flow of traffic, then basically the ceasefire is a bunch of bollocks.
yeah,
And I would expect that U.S. needs to be true to its word and resume kinetic operations against the regime.
yeah.
And
I
that to
agree.
me is what has to happen. Otherwise, if you're going to allow Iran to do this, then okay, we now live in a new regime where Iran controls Saudi Arabia, Iran controls the UAE, Iran controls Kuwait, Iran controls Bahrain, and Iran controls Qatar and Iraq.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's mad, but I mean, I agree. I think that there will be a lot to sort of pick at the details. And I don't know
Well,
because
even if we get we may not even get the details. I mean, that's the kind of
uh,
ludicrous thing about all this. There are no details. I mean, there's a
this,
10-point plan, but nobody has seen this 10-point plan that apparently has started this ceasefire process, except for the 10-point plan the Iranians put out. And that plan is, fully in favor of Iran.
and listen, the other thing as well, which I don't know well enough, and lots of people have said, the biggest issue is Israel and Lebanon with Hezbollah, right? That seems to be it. The Strait of Hormuz might be one, but if the Israel Lebanon issue is resolved, which I'm extremely skeptical about, do, if that issue is solved, does everything else flow down?
No. And what I think Israel, Lebanon, okay, there was an announcement that there'd be talks between Israel and Lebanon for a peace accord, right? But does
Yeah,
that necessarily stop Israel attacking Hezbollah? Because if you remember in the whole chain of events that has been going on since this thing, Lebanon kicked out the Iranian ambassador back in the first half of this thing. They
yeah.
said, "You are persona non grata, you must leave." The Iranian ambassador said, "Nope, I'm staying. You can't force me to leave." So, do we see a Lebanon-Israeli peace accord where they then both go after Hezbollah?
Okay.
I mean,
See,
that to me is what's probably going to end up what could potentially happen. I mean, maybe 15% chance of that happening, but maybe that does happen. So it doesn't become a Israel versus Lebanon because Israel, I think, would tell you they're not against Lebanon, they're against Hezbollah. Yeah,
yeah,
Iran
absolutely.
keeps saying, "Oh, it's Israel versus Lebanon."
No, I know, and look, I think it's to me. I think that is it's going to be what I think a lot of people are nervous about, and the fragility around everything. But lots of things are coming to the table, aren't they? Lots of issues are coming to the fore. Look, just before we go, I pulled up what Clyde said this week. This was on Tuesday before we heard about a ceasefire. So Clyde said Trump said that Iran can be taken out if it doesn't reopen the strait, and used expletives in a social media post, which I read that one and it was mad. I think he said, "Just open the fucking strait, man." So Clyde goes on. His threats to rain hell on Iran came after he appeared at the weekend alongside a person in an Easter bunny costume at the White House, where he veered between talking about egg supply to threatening to destroy Iran's bridges and power plants. If there is an image that encapsulates the lunacy of the current situation, it's the President of the United States of America standing next to a mythical children's character related to a religious celebration of eternal salvation while threatening to destroy another country.
Yeah,
Clyde,
that about sums up.
as he sums it up, I mean, it really does. And I think that, it amazes me how in times of peril or crises, that suddenly everyone's an expert. Everyone's got this opinion, and that's the opinion that everyone should have. The issue you've got is this is a market that is not trading off fundamentals. It's trading off headlines. It's
Yes.
trading off the delusional expectation that this is a short-term issue, whereas it's already priced, hasn't even been priced in yet that there is a big issue when it comes to feedstocks, refineries, petchems, with
Oh,
helium, with natural gas, with diesel, with the
oh,
whole barrel.
no, 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 no. I don't think the market is still pricing in the shortfall of supply to the world. I mean, you had this morning Japan releasing more of their SPR stocks
Yes.
to keep their refineries operating. So I don't think this market is pricing at all the shortfall that's going to be existing in the marketplace. I mean, this is even if Iran said, okay, yep, we'll reopen the straits. Sorry, no toll booth. We never really mined that area. So that square we put, that was just bullshit. We don't care.
Yeah.
It's still going to take a year to get the market resupply back to where it was because of the amount of supply that has been lost. And then you have to think about all the refinery damage that's been done during this whole
Yeah,
escapade.
yeah.
Especially,
That's been a question. That's been a question I've had a lot from everyone, and I've been trying to. Someone called me a media whore the other day, which I kind of resented, but I suppose it's right. But I was on with the Australian Broadcasting Competition this morning, competition corporation, excuse me, and everyone's asking me the same question: what is the scale of the impact on refinery infrastructure and energy infrastructure in the Middle East? Put simply, no one knows yet. There has not
well,
been a
the
sustained
only
period of stability within to even get in there and assess that.
the only one that we know of is Qatar because they've
Yeah,
said force majeure 5 years to rebuild.
yeah, could
So
be
we know
longer.
LNG is screwed out of the
Yeah,
Middle East for the time being. So we know that.
yeah, and and
But
and it's when you look at it and you're talking to someone who obviously hasn't really covered energy markets, which is always the best interviews that I have are people who are not in energy. They're people who suddenly have this exposure to the fragility around energy supply, and they're asking questions that I think most people want to listen the answer to. And when you're looking at, okay, well, which refineries have been impacted in the Middle East? All of them.
yeah,
All of them. It's not okay. There are specific parts of refineries that have been hit: Petchem, LNG, South Parsfield, parts of Ruwais, parts of Ras Tanura. But when you look at it as a whole, it's everyone within the Middle East Gulf, and that's frightful.
yeah. Because it's not only the refined product out of the GCC nations, it's also Iran's refineries have been hit.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it is a full-on shortfall of product supply, which we're going to feel the reverberations from, over the next year, 2 years, because jet fuel and diesel, both two big products exported out of the Middle East, probably the primary product exports, and
yeah,
naphtha,
yeah.
are still not flowing and still won't flow.
And I'll tell you what, the conversation you and I will have, hopefully, if the ceasefire holds and there is an agreement that comes out, the massive infrastructure projects that will be put in place to bypass the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're looking at an investment, buy steel pipe companies,
Right. Well,
engineering firms.
let's put the smoking barrel caveat in there that we don't offer financial. But yeah, look, I mean,
But
it's
that
it.
that's going to be everybody's idea is going to be where can I get a pipeline to export and bypass the Straits of Hormuz?
We will build a canal, and there will be the biggest canal. What we need is a GCC core tweet in Donald Trump saying that we will build a canal, and it will be the biggest canal and
I
best
don't think
canal.
you need to build a canal. I think you can easily lay a bunch of pipe and bypass the straits and say, done. Iran, you want it? Have it. Enjoy it.
All right, look, on that cheerful note, good to see you. I'm in South Africa next week, but I can speak to you from a mountaintop establishment. I'm sure I can at some point. I'm back Wednesday night.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, everybody. Click like, comment, and subscribe. And we look to see you all on the next outlet of the Smoking Barrel.
Ciao.